We're on
No,
one.
we're on one.
So go up the escalator twice and past the red desk. You have to wear two today. Yeah.
Why?
Doing a recording of it.
Why?
You two are awesome.
Why? Why? Do I get royalties from the sale of this when it goes on? Of course you're gonna sell it.
No, we're not.
You're gonna sell it on a pornography site.
Teachers.
Yeah, right. And I have to tell you, every time I usually hook them on my pants, but my pants are falling off. I don't know what's happening. I mean, I know I kind of I was gonna say toned up, but that's not the right word. I just started being just a little bit more careful about what I ate. But you know what I really need to do? I have a headset that I wear when I do the 1040. I don't know why.
One of them. You have to wear two for this one.
Because they're videoing us. So that means that we have to we have to stop.
You can have fun.
No, you can have more fun.
Yeah,
This is
but
me.
Okay. Yes. And I missed the last time. I'm sorry. You walked by here and you just went right on top.
This isn't the marketing department telling us what to do. It's me
oh,
Listen to him.
so that there's no. Okay, so if we do get naked, it's okay.
It's encouraged.
Okay.
Now this is live streaming. 10-second delay. 10-second delay. Oh.
We have a 10-second delay. Okay.
I can dump it. Well, good luck and
I'm sure Donald Trump wishes he had a 10-second delay after yesterday.
Playback.
Yeah,
He said they were talking about something, and he said something about stopping Hillary, and he said that the Second Amendment people could do something
They have to
about
go
it.
behind. And I'll show you where you hook it. I can get to it so you do it.
I can't
On the
believe
bra.
some of
Down
the
inside.
says.
On the bra. In the
I
middle.
never think of that. And I, and I used to wear
Thank you.
tanks all the
What side
time.
you want
So.
it on?
Just yep. Just right over the top. And then where you're putting it. I shouldn't say it like that. I'll stick it. You stick it.
Whatever you want.
Well, I hate those. So you might have.
He looks so. Right now, he's got this look on his face. He looks like he's like 12. He's so
He's
cute.
fidgeting.
He always looks like he's 12.
He's got this little cute little look on his face. I don't usually see that look on his face.
Now I have a tail.
All right, ladies, have fun.
Sure, hon. There might be a sheet inside the black folder. They'll give you one at the registration desk. Oh, you're welcome. Got there ahead of you.
I'm gonna stick coat on.
The bar last night.
Now where's the one for playback now?
That's up to the house front. I'll go hook up your mic.
But then you're gonna have to snap it. Will you?
Well, then I went down. I was home in my room. And I heard all this racket from the other bar, and I said, "Somebody's sitting there holding cords." So I know it was him.
Oh, yeah. I went down and made an appearance at that. Yeah, well, yeah, that kind of stuff.
There's some people that I'm like, "Yeah, I really don't want to spend a lot."
Yeah, I just want because I like to eat the face that goes with the name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people that are chatting all the time. You know?
That's how some people too. So it's been nice. It's conference been for you so far?
It's been good. I'm just a little, I don't know. Today, I don't know. Susan's death really shook me up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I know there's no opportunity to announce that to her. I hadn't heard about it. So I've been on social media. You know, it's not keeps trying to back his way into it. I don't really know the way to say that either. So,
But she died here at the hotel. And a lot of people don't realize that. She was here. She was here and she died here at the hotel. Morning, sweetheart. She died in the hotel. And so now Martha's been saying it, yes. And she had thrown she had the deadbolt, of course, but she also threw the other thing across. So Martha and Penny were outside, and they had to go through hearing the half hour it took security to actually the door open. The security told Martha that you really shouldn't do that. You know, throw the deadbolt, put something on the other side of the door, like your suitcase or something. Is that you can get in you're here if you're in your room, you know. And I remember years and years and years ago when I first got involved, I would travel with the woman, Jane Darling was her name. And when we were in New York City, she would have the door open. Okay, good luck. It should have been the big thing.
Yes, well, you know, they always say, yeah, exactly, it's the safety issue, because the Awaken Conference does not contain any safety issue. Now, some states. That's right. Some states, they actually get. And they send a lot of them back off.
Yes.
So, the answer would be, other than requesting it from the employer, no. This is not a part of the federal
Is that more work?
Okay.
It looks like Laura.
Would be. They may
I can do it myself. Yeah, if you go to
What now?
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
What?
Cross market and tell them to come to my class because
And we have a lot of them in our thing today. In the best of the best, we put a lot of those on forms.
Yeah, and they make it in financial.
So tell them that you're covering all that. Okay. Okay. So entertaining. Yeah, they put them both together and so yeah, you never know what's gonna happen in
I
there.
wish I could come, but I can't.
And it's funny because somebody said, well, you know, what are your cousins? I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote the thing together.
The thing that would be more entertaining than the two of you is to put you together with Lachey, these two accents. With you wouldn't have to.
Oh,
You wouldn't have
really?
to talk any content, just the accents. Anyway, both of you, thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, so that really was,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I haven't been able to sleep. Last night, I slept every 90 minutes. I woke up. The first 2 nights, every hour on the hour, I woke up. So I was thinking, at one point I got up and I looked out the window thinking, is there like one of these big bing bong clocks that I'm not singing that's maybe setting something out? And
Yeah.
no, that's not it. And I'm thinking, well, you know, is this some kind of like, am I near a police station that every...
I've heard sirens on the street both nights, but it's not been really that bad.
No. Well, sometimes like there'll be like a ping that they'll do every hour on the hour, you know, and I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Frustrated with people in the hallway at 6:30 in the morning. There are loud voices in the hallway. And I'm like, I want to hang a sign on the door saying, I don't have to get up to 7:15. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Shut up. Because to me, I mean, I was raised not to wake up
Yeah.
unless it's like after 10:30 or something. Because you don't know,
Exactly.
you know. But
Exactly.
I'm waking up at 6:30 because there's wreck, and I'm not even near.
I go to the expo hall with all this on?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I'm not supposed to be here till 10:20, right? Good.
There you go. Go to the expo hall. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
I don't need to wake up.
Hey,
don't make me.
we don't have to be doing this till 10:20.
Yeah.
I'm going with all this crap on up to the expo hall because that's where like the break is.
That's what I was wondering where the food was.
So is this on? Can you hear? But yes, a church would qualify.
So our church should be letting their seniors know.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
contributing members anyway.
Yeah, if they're going to tithe anyway, that's a good way. Yeah.
And it's better than the tax deduction on A.
Yes. Especially because,
Lowers their
and a lot of times they can't even itemize anyway. If they can't itemize,
Right.
that's what they should do, right?
I could talk to the church about sending a letter after that. Thank you.
That's what I would do. Sure.
Is there a floor for the 1099K like there is for the 1099 miss?
We don't issue the 1099K.
No, I know.
The PSP does. Whatever. The credit card company, yes, they do. And they have one. But a lot of the credit card companies have found that it's just easier to issue them across the board. But the floor is 250 transactions, or I think it's $20,000. But a lot of the credit card companies, like I said, I've seen them issued for like $600, $20, $200.
No, I was in your class yesterday. 1099
Uh-huh. Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Yeah.
But so we were just discussing later on. That
Yes, there are
you said
floors.
That if the credit card company is going to issue a K, then
Yep.
you don't want to put it on the miscellaneous.
You're not allowed
Why-
to. Yeah.
Oh, you're not.
Allowed to put that on a 1099 miscellaneous,
No matter what. Okay.
no matter what.
So you may miss some if they never issue one. It's something.
Yeah,
like-
you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on the dollar specific.
That is correct. Yep. (10:20 to noon). They're live streaming this, right?
Yeah, I'm just now asking my office to review my contract because I'm not happy. Yes, dear.
You had something?
No, we're fine.
Where the guy gets out of a brand new fancy pickup truck and walks into this expensive room and all that. I said it's
We're going to explode, and they're hoping they're going to trip us up.
It's only to staff. We're gonna see. That's it. We're just testing.
I don't know nothing. I stay out of it. Hmm? Neither.
Sometimes I'm like that.
I'm on the naughty list.
Oh my God.
I'm always on the naughty list. I spend a lot of time making sure I stay there. You can use me right here. That one's not hooked up to anything. Right here. I need to introduce this right now. It's 10:20. You're hooked up to me right there. It's hot. You're hot, I think. Just start talking and see what you say.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're on.
Good morning.
Get it a little closer.
Hi. We're here for the best of the best with Melinda, Garvin, and Kathryn Keane, which is the best of the best. We all know that. You said why we're here. The microphone's on.
I think so.
I don't
Is the
know.
microphone on and back? If it's a Madonna mic, you gotta hold it really close.
Yep.
I'm holding it really close.
Yeah. There you
Am I
go.
on and back?
Oh, there she goes. She's on now.
So here's the best of the best with Melinda, Garvin, and
Do you have the clicky?
Kathryn Keane.
Remind everybody to
I
scan
am.
in.
I'm going to.
Yes,
give you
you're clicking.
reminder.
You can be the
Please
queen
turn
of the
off your
clicker.
cell phones. Please fill out your evaluations and
who's
be
that
sure you have scanned in.
Ah.
Okay, everybody's got those 3 things. And don't forget, tonight is chapter showcase, little advertisement here. Tonight is chapter showcase. Please come out and have some fun with us.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Sounds like the voice of God, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. So Melinda, they invited us back to do this.
I know. I can't believe it. After the stunts we pulled last year, and they asked us to come back again this year.
Yeah.
Go figure, huh?
Everybody really liked the naked part of last year. That was really
That's right.
kind of fun.
Yeah, the naked part,
Yeah.
that would be an off-putting, but hey, we're here again.
We did that when we were talking about reducing stress in the office. We talked about getting naked and running around the office, and somebody said, "Oh, can you give us an example?" And we were like, "You bet." You know? There you go.
It worked for us, right?
So, Melinda, can you tell us how this session came about? And it's 21 on your evaluation forms, and unfortunately, there's no CE for this, even though we really think that it could have qualified for ethics, because a lot of what we talk about today is Circular 230 in our office and how these tools we have in our office that keep us in line with things like best practices and so forth. But tell us how we came to get to this point.
That's right. We are so much alike that we actually were probably separated in the womb, Kathryn and I.
You can't tell us apart. We
That's
look
right.
So much
we're so much alike, but yet we're so diverse. Kathryn is from Brooklyn, and I'm from the cornfields of Ohio. And our offices are so different, but yet we're so much alike.
Yes.
And so we were asked to come up with hints, tips, tricks of the offices, what works best.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, from our experiences, what doesn't work. What doesn't work.
Yeah.
Tap into our experiences. And so we come up with some of these. And even though she's in Brooklyn, some of these things work for both of us, even though they were so diverse. So what's what we're going to do today? We're going to talk about things that do work and things that don't. And we're going to hit some different specific topics. I'm the queen of paranoia.
And I'm the cause of most people's paranoia. People live in fear that I'm going to show up in their office and give them the dirty look.
So what we're going to do is take some of these topics and we're going to delve into them, and hopefully you'll learn something from it. You've got something you can take back to your offices. We like to go into these topics from the real world approach, and give you something to take back and maybe some new ways to look at things. I'm going to always look at it from a Circular 230 viewpoint, because that's my viewpoint.
And I look at it on how to do this without getting shot by your client.
She's from Brooklyn, remember?
Yeah, remember, 2 subway stops away from Coney Island. Yeah. I had a CPA get murdered 50 yards from my front door. No, they still haven't found the murderer. And it's now been, no, it wasn't me. I was teaching for NATP in Connecticut at the time when she was murdered. But it's actually a whole organized crime unit now. And November will be 4 years. So yeah, we have a different thing. The most horrible thing that's happened in Melinda's office is when Caesar fell in the stall and couldn't get up. Caesar, of course, is her horse.
Yeah, right in the middle of the webinar that I'm teaching for NATP.
Yeah.
So my business partner and Shelby, my office manager, go out to, he's cast. The term is cast, okay? He's cast in his stall.
Fell.
Yeah, and when they're cast in their stall, he's up against the wall.
Boom, boom, fall on the floor.
Yeah. So I'm talking, and they go out to pick him up. and get him picked up from his. It's in January. Very, very cool.
That's the neighborhood I grew up in. And now I can't afford to live in it. These buildings sell for $5 million each.
It's all decorated for Christmas. It was a good picture, wasn't it?
Oh my God.
And
Okay,
there's
go ahead.
Caesar in his stall.
Caesar's
Right
hanging
there.
out waving, hey,
Yeah.
wants a pool. So he fell in the stall. It was like awful.
Hey, it happens. Yeah.
One of my webinars, I had these three guys get into a huge argument in front of my office, and they didn't speak English except for one word.
Was it 4 letters?
Yes.
It started with an F?
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And I thought, oh, how delightful. Thank God it was a webinar dry run and not a real one. So,
Webinars are cool.
so we have a lot in common. In what happened?
Oh,
The horse? Yeah, she didn't
yeah.
finish the story.
Caesar, my business partner and Shelby went out to pick him up, and I'm watching all this and trying to talk coherently on the webinar. Did anybody sit in on that webinar when this happened? You did? I'm sorry.
Not losing a beat.
Yeah. And so they went out, they got him picked up, everything was good. And then I looked over at the window because, I mean, my horses are right there in the stall. I mean, there's a door and there's a window right there. And I'm talking, I look over, and there's my business partner. It's like sub-zero outside, and he's locked out. And he's in the window. Let me in. I can't. I'm on the webinar. No, I can't. And I'm talking the whole time. So finally, I had to let.
Don't let me go past here. So what
I
we're going
had
to do is
to
move
let-
the chair.
them in. So I just simply said, all right, look, this is what's happening. I'm going to walk away from the microphone just for a minute. I got to go let them in because my horse went down. And so it was wasn't it just like 2 seconds?
Yeah, 2
I
seconds.
literally ran over there, opened the door, let them in because, I could have left them out there. I only had like 30 minutes left, but it was like 30 below.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I let them in. And then I came back and finished talking on the webinar.
Blah, blah, blah.
So, but it was the least professional thing I've ever done in my life, okay? Oh, now that was not nice.
It was funny.
Who said that?
Les
Marty. Okay, he knows because he and I team taught in Brooklyn.
In New York City.
We
Manhattan.
taught okay, yeah, okay. Really, he
So you have
says?
to click it?
Okay, let's talk about security.
Oh, security.
One rule.
Never
Do you have
know.
enough in your office? Hey, the commissioner, he has done a security summit and he is focused on it right now, the IRS commissioner. He has teamed up and got together a security summit, and he is focusing on that in the IRS forum that they're doing right now. Our representative for us from NATP, Larry Gray, he is doing a session on tax identity, the practitioner. And from what I understand, he is also presenting at the IRS forums on this topic.
It's a very important topic.
The IRS commissioner was questioned on the security issue and his direction he's going with the tax practitioners. When he was questioned on it, he was asked, this summit and this security issue that you're directing towards practitioners, are you doing this for penalty purposes? His answer was, at this point, it is to be directed towards educating us, you, me, Kathryn. It's to educate us on how to protect our taxpayers' data. And the very first thing that they did was they revamped and redid the publication, I think it's 4600, Safeguarding Your Taxpayer Data. They completely redid it. It's an old publication that they have, but they redid that document, that publication.
And you should really make sure that you have it printed out in your office so that you can refer to it. Because when they do come into your office, this is one of the questions that an examiner will ask you if they come in. Has anyone ever had the IRS come into your office to look at your procedures?
One.
One.
And it's
How many people
4557.
know people who've had it happen to them? I know quite a few people.
I have several that I know that have done that.
Yeah. So
That
it's
pub
good to be
457
there.
is in your text on page 2. That's 4557.
You really can't have enough. Let me ask you a question. When a client hands you a thumb drive to download their Excel or whatever, do you pop it in your drive, do you run your antivirus before you start looking at the files?
Or
How many people do that?
Or do
How
you
many
have a
people
computer-
will do it next time?
Or do you have a computer sitting over here that's not hooked up to anything in your office?
Anything at all?
It's just a maybe an older computer that doesn't have hooked up to any of your network. It has maybe some old software on it that you're not using anymore, that you can pop it in there, that is got top-notch security scanning on it, that you can put it in there. Maybe that's what you're going to do with it. Maybe.
Because one of the security things that I came across in New York State was clients that would come in, and if you remember, some of these USBs are so small, they can slip it into your drive without you ever noticing it, and it will have software on it that will, in the evening, transmit out the data files. Now, your firewall and so forth is really not looking to stop you from sending stuff out. It's looking to keep things from coming in. And so there have been tax preparers who have had this happen to them, where they've had a file uploaded onto their system that at night has transmitted out a lot of material. So you really have to be careful. So I always, when I come into a tax pro's office, one of the things I always look at is, where is the computer? And where are the USBs? Are they on the desk? Are they on the floor? Is there a case around them preventing people from getting to the USB?
And Kathryn mentioned your clients bringing these thumb drives in. What about your employees?
Yeah.
What about your employees? And what is the security in your office with those thumb drives? Are they locked up? Do you have a written security plan that addresses the issues with those thumb drives? Because Federal Trade Commission says that you have to have a written security plan, and you have to go by the Federal Trade Commission, because you fall under Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. You fall under the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act because you are a tax practitioner, and so you have to have a written security plan because you're under the Graham-Leach-Bliley.
How many people have a written security plan in their office?
If you sat in on any of my ethics classes, you know that you have to have that.
How many people will have them by the end of August? Everybody else is adding one up. Yeah. Jay.
Just real quickly, it's not just thumb drives. People's cell phones can also have those Trojans on it.
Oh.
We have a documented case where the Trojan was picked up by the network off of somebody's cell phone when they plugged it into the USB to charge it.
Wow.
So the cell phone. And here in my office, another thing that was brought up, I have a cell phone policy in my office, in my written security plan. My clients are not allowed to use their cell phones in my office. And I've had attendees sit there and say, oh, well, that never work in my office because my clients have to use their cell phones. I said, what for? Well, they have to bring up their brokerage account. They have to bring up where they forgot to bring in their unemployment. Well, if you need that stuff, it has to be printed out. They can't print that out on their cell phone. I have a computer that is older that I can't use anymore, sitting over here hooked up, not to my network, but hooked up to the internet, and a printer that's not hooked up to my network, that I make them go over there and look up what they have to. They print it out. They're not going to use my computer. I'm using it to do their tax return. There's no cell phone usage in my office because there's too many times when my clients have papers in the waiting area spread out, and your other clients are clicking pictures. Yes. And that's how identities are stolen. And so there's no cell phone usage in my office. If they have to make a phone call, get out. Go to the parking lot.
You don't need a client sitting in your waiting area and going on Facebook Live when you're in the other room screaming at a client. Just saying. Just saying. You know, one of the things when we were getting ready for the partnership workshops that the three of us are teaching,
Yeah,
actually,
the three of us.
and Steve O'Rourke, we had a conference call and we were talking about something, and Melinda said something in that meeting. She said, we have to remember that the way we ran our offices 7 years ago doesn't apply anymore. And the way she said it, I was like, yeah, because 7 years ago, we didn't have to worry about Bluetooth, cell phones, picking up something and all of this other craziness. And, you know, clients weren't so digitally disabled where you take their phone away from them. And it's like that Star Trek episode where the guy can't get too far from that mirror, you know? And if they don't have their phone in their hand, they're like, and they start like dissolving, you know? Like I threw water on Green Lady, you know?
That's my character, yeah. Anyway, here's the deal. And tax law has not changed in that respect. But yet we changed. We have to change the way we do business. And what we were talking about is those partnerships. The partnership tax law didn't change, but the way I do partnerships in my office has changed.
Because the world has become so litigious. So
You know,
litigious.
yeah.
They'll sue you for anything.
So look at the top of page 3. This really bothers me. Windows 10. Windows 10.
On a civil rights level, the fact that my computer decided to update itself without asking me.
Yes.
Bad enough, I got a lot of people in my life that are constantly thrusting their wants and needs over mine. You know, the spouse, the kid,
Jamming
the
all this
siblings.
down my throat, it really upset me,
Ah.
okay? But then jamming this Windows 10 down the throat of my computer, and now, really, it shouldn't be on your tax preparation computer because it is submitting and sending data back until we can get this stopped. It's submitting data back that shouldn't be happening. I'm not so sure it doesn't violate Bramlage-Bliley. So be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't think that issue has been cleared up, and I think it violates Circular 230, Windows 10, on tax preparation computers. What about in your text on page 3, firewalls, when under security? You know what I'm talking about with firewalls? There's 2 kinds of firewalls, hardware and software.
Mhm.
And it falls right under this rule. You can't have enough. You need both.
Yeah, I agree.
You need both.
I definitely agree.
And where you place them in the scheme of things. And while we're talking about that, if you're not technologically savvy enough, A, call your grandchild, or get a professional in to do it for you.
Yeah.
This is not an area to skimp on funds. It's like errors and omissions insurance.
I have to agree.
You have to spring for
getting the IT guy, and also make sure that your IT person has a contract with you, a non-disclosure and a confidentiality, and you know what? Maybe even a non-compete. I mean, I have an IT guy that I use for the big things, and he only has one person per industry. So as long as he's my client, as long as I'm his client, he's not going to work with other tax people because he doesn't want to. He feels if he comes in and he's helping me work something, that if he goes and he says to someone else, well, how about we do this, that he's sharing my trade secrets with them. Now, that's a little extreme, you know, but I respect the fact that he respects my rights to privacy and confidentiality. But all of our vendors, our exterminator, the guy that shovels your snow or whatever.
The cleaning lady.
Whoever, there should be a non-disclosure, and a confidentiality, that they will not discuss what they see.
And
They
it
don't
better
want
be
them
put in
coming
your
in.
written security plan that you have that.
Yeah, it should be.
It needs to be put in your written security plan that you have that agreement with those people.
Because you don't need your exterminator running out and saying, oh, wow, I just saw Iggy Schwarzenheimer in Melinda's office. And, you know, you don't need that.
No, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
I have some celebrity clients, and we always have to worry when they're in the office because people will get all excited and put on Facebook, I just saw, and I have to remind them, you know, that's one of the reasons why it's a good idea not to have the cell phones in the office. But I always have to have, you know, usually my husband's in the office on that, really just say, and we don't post about you, so you're not going to post about them. So that's a big concern.
The next thing in your text is going to cause a lot of people to argue with me, but I'm not arguing with you. And that is when your client contacts you and wants a copy of their file. They want a copy of their tax return. They don't want to come in and get it. They want you to send it to them. They want you to send it to them electronically. How do you do that? If you still think that you can send a copy of their tax return via any form of email, you're wrong. If you think that your software can send it because your software encrypts it or password protects it, you're wrong. It violates Gramm-Leach-Bliley. It's not secure. The only way you can send a copy of your client's tax return to them electronically is through a secure portal that meets Gramm-Leach-Bliley security.
So
that's it.
At lunch, when you're up in the vendor area, take a walk over and talk to your software provider. Any of the decent software providers are vendors at our event today. Go talk to them. All of the vendors offer some kind of a portal as part of their package. Some of it's included, some of it's extra, whatever it is. And the salespeople at the software booths are knowledgeable on those issues. Go and talk to them and ask them if that portal is secure, if it meets the criteria.
I've had some of them say that you are not required to meet the requirements of Gramm-Leach-Bliley. If they tell you that, run.
Yeah.
Run away.
Or at least call their corporate headquarters. Maybe that one salesperson didn't understand your question. But you really have to contact, if they can't give you an answer that you feel good about, contact them directly. Your software is a big part of your package. We'll talk more about software a little later.
Yeah. And there are certain portals out there.
We have a question.
I agree with, I'm Thompson Ryder and their password. What do you think about Dropbox?
About what?
Dropbox.
Like putting it in Dropbox and having a client, it's not exactly a portal, but it operates like a portal. Is it something that's been approved to your knowledge?
I'm not really comfortable about using Dropbox to transmit. My clients will send me documents through Dropbox and I can go get it. I don't care. They're sending it to me. If they want to send it on a blimp, I'm going to take it. But I won't give them their tax return in Dropbox. I'm going to make them use my portal.
I don't care how many times I tell my clients, don't send me stuff that has your social security number on it. They still do.
They still do.
They still do. I had a client that had her identity stolen. And the reason I'm having her send me stuff is because she had her identity stolen. And I told her, don't do this. Don't send me stuff through email. Now, I need you to send me this documentation because we need to file the paperwork to tell the IRS that your identity is stolen. So what does she do? She emails me her copies of her social security card and her driver's license.
And it's like clients that download their tax return off our portals and put it on their phone.
I mean,
what's that about?
You can't fix
It's like
stupid.
they don't understand. You can't fix stupid. That's
You
funny.
can't. You can't fix stupid.
But they don't even get it. They don't even understand the risk. They don't understand where the threat is for identity theft. They don't understand what the cost of repairing it can be. And I look at them and I wonder, have they been living in a bubble? Because the cost of fixing an identity theft case can be, I just think about the value of my time in resolving it. It's just so much, so much.
But the
we'll
Internal
talk more
Revenue
about
Service
that.
is working on coming up with penalties on us. If they can trace it back to where the identity theft breach happened in your office, you're going to get penalized. Now you're sitting there thinking, I know right now, well, what about when they had a breach and they had, I don't care. They don't care.
And they actually had breaches.
Multiple, but they don't care about that. You are their cash cow. They're going to penalize you if they can trace it back to you. So that's why you have to put all these things in place to prove that you have made the attempts in your office to stop it. You've made the attempts. Over on page 4 is where we tell you you have to have the written security plan. If you don't believe it, there it is. Even in this pub that we've told you to print out, the 4557, the original one that the Internal Revenue Service did have out before they made the additions to it and the enhancements, didn't mention it. It does now. It does. The other pub that you can print out is 4600. Both of those publications have checklists in them that will assist you in coming up with the things you need to do in your office and the enhancements you need to make.
Someone once asked me if there's a template, and I'm really reluctant in using a template because you should know what it says. You should know what your procedure is going to be in case of a breach. So that, do you know what I mean? You need to own that process because God forbid there's a breach, it's your neck on the line. You know, it's your pocketbook that's going to have to provide, you know, in some states you have to provide a service like LifeLock to everybody, which, you know, we're going to get to in a few minutes, but and this is my crime. I have everyone I've ever done in the 17 years of private practice have been scanned and are on my server. Even the ones that have died. And I thought about this last year when we did this class, and I realized that if there was a breach of mine, and even though they're all password protected and everything, if there was a breach of my office, I would have to provide in New York State something like LifeLock to every one of those people for a year. Not just the people I did their tax return for, but everyone I've ever done a tax return for going back 17 years. So you know what I started doing? Started deleting them. Haven't been able to sit down because I've been on the road so much, but by January 1st, all I'll have on my server is what I'm legally required to have. The rest is going.
There is something called cyber insurance too, and you might want to check out that and look into it. If you do that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating it. That's a decision you would need to make yourself, but you need to be aware that it's out there, and you would need to see what the cost is versus how many clients you have and what it would cover in the event of a breach. And that's a decision you'd have to make yourself.
Absolutely. You have a question in the middle.
Exactly how many years worth of tax do we have?
His question is exactly how many years worth of client files, like if you have a client, how many years worth of returns for that client do we need to maintain? In other words, when you said you're required to keep.
Yeah, Circular 230 requires us to keep them for 3 years following the end of that.
From the
final.
due date of the return.
Right. So, but what I do in my office, because I'm insane, anything that's done in calendar 2016 is deemed to have been done on 12/31. That's my document retention policy. Whether I did a return on January 1st, well, January 3rd, or I did one on December 30th, My document retention policy considers them all done on December 31st. So that starts my 3-year. So I'm not pulling random stuff. And so that's how that is. Now, there are other things. If you sell bank products, even though very few people actually sell a loan anymore, the refund anticipation loan business is drying up. But if you have bank products, that bank application needs to be kept for a longer period of time. And some states it's 5, in New York it's 8 years. I have to keep that application for 8 years. So, you know, and we have to take care of that. And I'm not just, and some of it, New York, I can't, since they didn't sign a digital copy, I can't digitize those records. So, yeah,
And
so you need to know that.
A good point that she's making is watch your state law.
Yeah.
Watch your state law. It's a melting pot in here. Watch your state law. Another issue is your computers, the actual hardware in your office. In my office, my standard operating procedure, my business general operating procedure is, and a part of my written security plan, is that each one of my workstations have to change their password every 30 days. Every 30 days.
That's a great idea.
And so it's automatically programmed that that computer is going to prompt the user to change that password every 30 days. And then, of course, the server's password protected also. Do my employees like that? No. Do I care? No.
Now, I have a question for you. You're not like insane like the IRS where I can't use the same digits.
Yes, there
Or
is
I
a,
can't, you know, like I can't have more than 3 letters or characters that I had, you know, and they get all crazy and you have to really hire a creative writer to come up with your password.
yeah, it has to have like the blood of a unicorn and.
Oh, hey, leave
Yeah.
the unicorns alone. I'm very upset that I couldn't park my unicorn inside. He's outside on a pole tied up.
It does require a capital letter, a lower letter, and it does require some of that, but no, we can just alter it a little bit, but it does have to be altered enough to make it different. Yes. Rose? I have an IT person. I called my grandchild and he did that. No, my IT person did it, and it's a Windows issue. It's a Windows thing. In my Windows server protocol did that. I know just enough to be dangerous. Yes, Terry?
When we set our passwords up for our network, our IT person, who we also have an outside, said it could be between 8 and 14 characters. And so a lot of people say, make it 8, we want it easy. I said, no, 14, because if something were to happen where we got hacked into, if whoever, the IRS or the lawyer, the other person says, well, you could have had a 14-character password and you only chose an 8-character. Why was that? It would have been harder if you had a 14-character one. So I want to make it as hard as possible.
Right.
And our employees hate it. And what I told them is think of a line of a song that you like, the name of the TV show, take the first letter of each word.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Those are my favorite kind of passwords. So let me share with everybody in the back that couldn't hear Terry from Ohio. She was sharing that her IT person told her to get a password that's between 8 and 14 characters. They went to 14 because she figured, God forbid they get sued and someone looks and finds out that she could have had 14 but only went with 8. So she went with the 14. And then she said, pick your favorite song and go with the first letter of each word of that song. And I think that's a great idea. Yeah. That's good. Because password 123 is not a good password.
My broker dealer, the password that is required not only has to be changed every 30 or 60 days, it can't be a word in the dictionary. So you can't use a word in the dictionary, a color or anything.
Oh, there's
It has to be a random.
Or hers can't be a word in the dictionary. It has to be a combination of hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
And a blood of unicorn.
And the blood of
Okay.
What's with the unicorn smashing?
Oh, Kathryn, Mistress Kathryn, get over it. Okay, and here's another thing. In my office, we have one person that is assigned that we have to turn those, when we change the password, we turn the password that we've changed it to into this one person. and she keeps the log of everybody's passwords under lock and key. And so there is a log documented of those passwords, and that's it. We don't have it written on a sticky note under the keyboard. Okay?
You don't have it on a sticky note on the monitor?
No. No.
Because I've done that. I've gone into people's tax offices and said, what's that? Oh, those are the passwords.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
and there it is, to print your returns, to view all the different passwords.
Because if the IRS does come in your office, they're looking for that too.
Yep, yes, they are.
They're looking for these kind of breaches. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Let's move on to software. Kathryn wants to talk to you about some different kinds of software that you have in your office. The first one is tax preparation software and tax utility software, like payroll, those type of different software.
You know, a lot of people don't take the time to really get to know their tax software. We know how to do a tax return with it, and that's all we know. We don't realize the reports that can be generated and the ways that you can track things. Not only like your body count, you know, where were you last year compared to this year as far as, you know, number of bodies served and so forth. But you really should get familiar with the reports function of your tax package, because you paid a lot of money for your tax software, and you have to let it help you. And one of the things that we do in my office every week is we run 1040s not transmitted, state returns not transmitted. And then we hold that list up against our holding log or the throw-out log, you know, the people that I've shot and killed and thrown out of my office, you know, to make sure I can account for everybody. Because when you do the number of clients that I do, and there are days that I will see 20 people in a day, I feel like a gynecologist half the time, you know, okay, you know, but there's just, you know how it is. There's certain days that are insane.
Roll them.
That's right, you know. But so there's always, and this is one of the good things about chemo brain. When you have chemo brain, you're so afraid you're going to drop the ball. You know, you're so afraid because you have this thing, and there is a little diminished cognitive skills that comes after certain forms of chemotherapy. So I'm always looking for, how do I catch myself from having this happen to me? And so one of those things is I am terrified. My anxiety gets so bad, I gotta line my M&Ms up. You know, I can't even just randomly pick them out. I gotta line them up because it's raging so badly that I actually am terrified that someone's gonna fall through the cracks. So I'm constantly, like when I transmit, it got so bad I only allowed myself to transmit for 2 years. I wouldn't let anybody else. My husband's screaming at me. Look at the percentage of our revenue that goes out in salaries, and you are sitting here transmitting returns at 1:30 in the morning. What is wrong? What if they drop the ball? What if they drop the ball? He goes, if they drop the ball, you run the report the next morning, you transmit them the next morning. You have, 2 days, 3 days to transmit? So if they go out the next morning, it's not a big deal. And why aren't they running that report? Dumb Ray comes up with this magnificent, oh my God, that's 2 days in a row I've said something good about him.
Don't you hate it when a man comes up with an idea?
I know, but it's so, and I share that because everybody knows me. I live out loud. Everybody knows my whole life story and all my intimate secrets. But this is such a fear of mine that I'm going to drop the ball, that I had to learn how to use my software. And it's true. Once a week, we run the submissions report, and because we have to, but we run that, put that in. We run the reject report, and we put it against the others, and we go through them and make sure that nobody, and every once in a while, someone I thought I transmitted at 10 o'clock, I pick up at 2 o'clock when I do it that I didn't. Oh, okay. We have bins all over everything. Why am I telling you this? Whatever it is that you're afraid of, whatever it is that's causing you anxiety in the office, verbalize it. First of all, that's the great liberator. You know, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of blue pens. Oh, okay. And then make steps. And for me, it's falling through the cracks. Something is going to fall through the cracks. We have wipe away boards. We use, what do they call that? Not appointment software, but we use like, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about a particular product, but I use a product that my clients make their appointment. They could make their appointment if they want, but we track it. So I can look, and there's all of these crazy things where we move people from one folder to another to let them know that they're waiting for their state acknowledgement. They've been rejected. And so there's like some redundancies, because when my anxiety starts, it's not pretty.
Adult beverages take care of that.
Yeah, but they kind of frown at having a beer at 7 o'clock in the morning.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I know it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but still.
Another thing that's good for your software is when NATP, like when we did the partnership series, there's a case study in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I told the attendees, take that case study home and put it into your software and find the weaknesses or the strengths in your software with partnerships.
Yep.
Because you're going to find what maybe your software doesn't do that you think it's been doing. Maybe this entry, you think
Particularly in
your
the partnership
software,
class.
yeah, you think your software's been doing that for you automatically, and you're going to find out it hasn't.
No.
That's what NATP's case studies are good for.
They're excellent for that.
Yeah, and I think they found out partnerships are maybe
So
a weak link.
So when you're down in the vendor area, you'll see some products there that are, representation oriented, time management oriented, workflow type products. Think about it. In my personal way of organizing myself, this is so silly. I'm almost embarrassed to share it. I have an Excel file, and everything I'm working on goes on the Excel file. And we have all these other softwares, and there's like 5 different systems tracking me. But the one that I look at every day when I get into my office, I sit down, I look at that Excel, and it will say, Schwarzenheimer, Iggy, and what I'm waiting for. And if it comes in, Chris or Trish will go to that Excel worksheet, and they'll go in and say, 1098 received, and where the location of that folder is, so that I can go and finish it up. So you just have to recognize that we have great software. We should really be utilizing it better. How many of us really feel that we get all of the money out of our tax software, that we pay for it?
What about paperless offices? How many people have paperless offices in here?
Or somewhat paperless.
Yeah. And how many of you would like to be paperless, but you're afraid? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
It is the easiest thing in the world. A lot of you, I thought I had to go back and scan in all the old crap, but you don't.
No.
You start from here and go forward being paperless. And a lot of the document management software, your tax preparation software has that document management software that piggybacks with it. Talk to your vendors out here about it. Yes.
I'll add this. I was like you're saying, I was afraid to go paperless or less paper.
Less paper.
And I bought, one very expensive scanner because there's 5 of us in the office. I thought I'd try it. And the time it saved me, within 5 months, I bought one for everyone in the office, and the paper, the copy, everything. You run the original through there.
Yep.
And
If you'll jump in, her comments are, if you will just do it, the money, the time that you save, you'll wonder why in the world have I been waiting? And
it saves a lot of paper, Marie. You're absolutely right. I like it because I scan everything my client gives me. So when my client showed up with a letter from Chase that they were going to report her to the Internal Revenue Service for her account overseas, and I went to my intake. We have a patient intake form, and it says right on there, do you have money in a foreign bank? Do you have an account in a bank located outside the U.S.? And she had checked those boxes off, no. And so I was able to pull it up and go, What does that say? This is what you did. This, and here's my initial next to it, which means that I further discussed it with you. And you told me no. And she said, but it's Chase. But it's Chase. It's not a foreign bank. It's Chase. I said, yeah, but it's in Jamaica. And I don't mean Jamaica, Queens. You know, it's Jamaica, the country. It's, but no. So now we have like 7 of these questions for FBAR.
We have a question over here.
Yeah. Yes.
I went paperless in 2002, and I now have the privilege of traveling 5 to 6 months a year, and have still take care of my business, because as long as I have a computer and a telephone, and I have a hard disk that is a secure hard disk and all that sort of thing. But the thing you need, you will be able to get and do a lot of things that you normally weren't, because you are tied to that file cabinet.
He says that he went paperless in 2002, and he can travel now 5 to 6 months out of the year that he couldn't do before, because as long as he has a computer and he can do anywhere he can travel with this computer and still do his work wherever he's at, because he's got the stuff on a secure hard
Daryl
drive
was one of
somewhere.
the first people I know that went paperless.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I bet we could, all of us tell a lot of stories about what we can do now. So if you're thinking about it, talk to somebody in here. Don't be afraid of it.
I don't
Just
have to
do
get
it.
up and go in the back room and get something out of the file cabinet. I could just click.
Yeah.
Norma had a hand up, and so did Terry. Who wants to go? Go ahead, Norma.
I just recommend to make sure that you get a good scanner. I had to replace one last year, and I tried the NEAT was not compatible with my software. Make sure when you're buying, make sure you have one that is compatible with your software.
That's a great tip. Thank you, Norma. Norma from Texas advises us to, when we buy it, make sure it's compatible with the software that we're using. And that's good. Thank you. Terry? Yes, yeah, Daryl's saying get one that feeds, not one we have to stand and let each one go one at a time. Terry?
I work in a CPA firm, and so one partner, luckily the one I work for, we are less paper, never paper less, but we're less paper. Some of the others are dedicated to those brown file folders for every year. And what I think is interesting is when you have a client come in because they sold a stock that's been in the dividend reinvestment plan for 10 years, and they didn't keep track of all those dividends. They've got to run around and try to find all those files. I don't think anyone here ever looks for a file and they can't find it. Apparently everyone can always find all those paper files. But in our office, paper files will kind of get misfiled and lost and whatever. So there's a big uproar. It's usually April 2nd when that's going on. And I'm sitting here going, click, oh, there's last year's return. There's the year before that. There's the year before that.
Yeah.
That's real time saving, is when you're in that pressure and you can't find that fill in the blank paper file because somebody doesn't know their alphabet song well enough and they're putting files away.
Well, in my office, we actually have alphabet cards on the top of each file cabinet.
No.
Yes. It's okay. A lot of people need to do that. And that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah. The next type of software that I want to talk about is something that I do in my office, is appointment scheduling. And it's software. Does anybody have appointment scheduling software? I'm talking about internet-based, where your client can go out there and schedule their own appointment on the internet. Mine is called Schedulicity. They can go out there 24 hours a day and schedule their own appointment with whoever they want in my office. They see that if they want to schedule an appointment with Jared
Or Caesar?
or Treasure or
Caesar the horse.
Marcel or Caesar, yeah. And they can look and see Jared's schedule, and they can schedule the appointment with him. And then send the client an email reminder 24 hours before the appointment. They can change their appointments. They can do whatever they want with them. They cannot cancel the appointment 24 hours before. It will also send an email to Jared if we want it to. They can go to and see what services we are. They can accept credit cards through there. It's very flexible. Does anybody use software like that? It's awesome. Pardon me? Is it, I can have on my website, I can have a link on that where they can click on it and it'll send them directly to this where they can make those appointments. Yes. It can be on my Facebook page. It can be on my website page. These links can be. Yes.
About that. I have trouble with my staff scheduling appointments because I do C-Corp, S-Corp partnerships, farms, businesses, and they say, this is Jeff Jones. Can you schedule me for an appointment? They put a guy that's a partnership, very complex partnership for now.
Well,
Do you understand what I'm doing? Is there some way in your software you can say, are you a partnership?
yes.
Whatever it is.
You can. Well, first of all, if they have that kind of a return, I'm not going to have them sit there the whole time. His question is if the complexity of the return, the type of return that it is. You can schedule, you can program into this that it's a C Corp return. So that time slot would be longer. His comment is that, there's different time sequences that it would be.
Bill, I can relate to that because I've had my girls put massive 1040s in a 20-minute time slot.
And that's going to happen whether you're using a live person scheduling the appointment in your room, in your home office, or whether they're doing it online. It doesn't matter. That's going to happen either way. And they can pick. You can schedule dentist offices, beauty shops. They all use these, and they're using it all for it's a personal service business. They're all using these right now, and they work very, very well. And it's very inexpensive software. You need to look into it. And it saves you if you're a one-man show office where you get upset when that phone's ringing and you're trying to do a tax return. It's a good solution for the one-man show. It also, if you want to try to cut down on your front desk person, where the front desk person is answering the phone constantly and trying to work the door or whatever, or you're trying to use that front desk person to do copying and stuff, it will cut down on that answering the phone.
What I did in my office for the off season, because I'm very rarely in the office now during this season, and I trying to control when I'm in the office what's in front of me. We now have an appointment worksheet where they'll ask, what exactly is it you want Kathryn to do for you when you come in? And some people are going like, well, and she'll say, well, because if you don't tell me, I'm going to put you in a 10-minute time slot. And then in 11 minutes, we come in and we drag the chair away and put the next person in. So, but if you tell me you're having a 10-40, remember it's Brooklyn, we speak differently to each other. We're not rude, we're just abrupt. Remember that. So, and she'll tell them, if you tell me you need a 1040, or you're coming in to do a business startup, or you're coming in for problem resolution, I'll be able to make sure that she eats before you get to, so she doesn't bite you or whatever. And then people have been like, oh, okay, I got it. It's okay, and then they'll tell them what it is. And so then she knows this is going to take more time. You don't want to be here on a Monday morning because of all the interruptions, and she can be a little bit more efficient. Now, how that's going to work during the tax season is another story, because we still have people that make appointments in the tax season for stupid stuff. I got to start carrying a bat again. Really.
The next thing is backups.
She had a hand up.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're asking what the client sees, like when they look at the schedule. When the taxpayer would go out there and look at Jared's schedule, all they're going to see is the open slots. They will not see when Rose makes her appointment. They will not see the people's names or anything. All they see is the available times. They will see the services that are offered. If you want to put prices in, they could. I don't do that on mine. Bookkeeping services, payroll, whether you just want a tax consultation, and how much time slots those are and what's available. Yeah, that's all they see. That's all they see. Good
Good
question.
hand back there. Go ahead, hon.
Just a comment, I use software, not the same use, and I do put costs in there because I know that people that are aware that my time is money. And so they don't just start telling me about their grandkids and stuff and just keep going on. They're kind of like, and a lot of them will now start to walk up to my receptionist and say, I picked a $75 appointment, here's my 75. I'm like, you just drop off the money wherever you want. You know, and same with phone conferences, I have that as one of them, you know, they, you know, these are in increments of, you know, 15.
So her comment is she puts the prices on there because her clients understand that time is money, and they often understand that they will bring the money in and plunk it down right up front.
What about backup software, Melinda?
Backup software. That's another argument I'll get into. No, I'm not arguing. Backup software, if you are, first of all, I'm not even going to ask, but I don't want to know, but if you're not doing backups, you better be. And the backups that you're doing, whether they're in-house, out-of-house, if you're backing up to another hard drive and it's sitting right next to your server.
Or the flash drive that's still in the computer slot.
Yeah.
When you go home.
That's sort of worthless. And if you're backing up remotely somewhere, if it's remotely to your own location, fine. If it's backing up to the cloud somewhere and you're using a remote service, then you need to make sure that it's Graham-Leach-Bliley compliant. Tired of me saying that? Noogies. Tough, tough, tough. You need to make sure that the company that you're using is Graham-Leach-Bliley compliant. And there are very few out there of backup services that are Graham-Leach-Bliley compliant. Very few. And if you think you found one that is, they need to provide to you in writing that they are, because you need to put it in your written security plan. If they won't provide to you in writing that they are, then they're not. E&O insurance is next.
Insurance. Oh. Insurance. I never make a mistake. I'm perfect. My clients don't lie to me. My clients are good people.
And your clients are loyal.
My employees are all wonderful.
Your clients are so loyal, they would never throw stones at you.
They love me.
Right.
We live in such a litigious society. I once went, before I got sick, I had my investments licensing, and I was with a company, and we went to this big gala lunch, and they had this speaker, and he said, 26% of Americans' retirement plan is to win the lottery. This is what you're up against. So we're all like, oh my God, that's terrible. So 5 years later, now I'm sick. I'm sitting there bald as a billiard. It was in Washington, D.C. And the same speaker gets up and says, you know, I was here to talk to you 5 years ago when I told you that 26% of Americans believe that their retirement is when they win the lottery. Well, now 26% of people still feel they're going to win the lottery and retire. But there's another 25% that are looking for their lawsuit. Looking for their lawsuit.
Looking for that big payday.
When I sue and I get money, and I'm not talking about people who have had horrible things happen to them. Somebody in one of my classes yesterday shared a woman that got a settlement, and oh my God, it was horrific what happened to this person. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, oh, I can't bend my arm straight. You know, my arm doesn't move really well, so I'm going to sue the person who made my jacket because there's too much starch in it. You know, when I worked for the company whose name shall not be uttered aloud, we once were sued because someone had a bad tax experience and went home and had a neurological event. And the family felt that her bad tax experience caused her to have a stroke. And that case went on for about 4 years. And I'm thinking like, really? Really? I understand that it's stressful. It's like going to the dentist or going to the OBGYN for your annual pap smear. I get that going to get your taxes done is a stressful thing. But I really doubt it led to this person having a stroke. Or not, I don't know. But this is what we live in. Our society.
It's society that's the way they think.
It is. Everybody's looking for a windfall. Everybody's looking to sue. Yes. What's your first name? Kim.
I have a question. I'm thinking about the scheduling software you have. And I kind of can't get over it, but you allow just anyone to take an available appointment for you. See, they call in and talk to my assistant, but then I kind of do some background before I accept them.
You run a background check on your clients?
No,
I'm playing with you, Kim. I'm playing with you.
Her comment, do I just allow anybody to make an appointment with me? Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I live in Corn Country, Ohio. Okay? I live in Corn Country, Ohio. Everybody knows everybody.
And
I don't live in a big city.
And I screen my first-time clients. I have clients that are not allowed to refer me clients because they are mashugana pains in the butt, and I'm not taking them and their families.
See,
so only certain clients can refer people to me. Yeah.
Kind of what has been working with what you're doing, what hasn't been, because you can screen out a lot of trouble.
Like how many tax people have you used in the last 5 years? If you're a bouncer, bounce on, baby, because I'm not wasting my time with you.
In my world, in Corn Country, Ohio, it's a very small rural area. I don't have the issues that Mistress Kathryn has in Brooklyn, okay? We said that there are diverse practices.
Yeah.
I don't have that issue. Yeah. I probably know them or their kinfolk already anyway. Pardon me? How many people what?
How many people are in your town?
12,000.
Oh my God.
So, you know, yeah.
15,000.
That's how many lives in your community.
That's in the block that she's in.
Yeah, that's in her block.
I have 46 zip codes in the county of Kings, the borough of Brooklyn.
So it's a very small community. It's not an issue for me. And quite frankly, if they come in and I would determine that I don't want to represent them or I don't want to do their tax return, I probably had a very interesting conversation and I'm okay with, I don't think I can take you.
So Melinda, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Somebody calls in, hi, Melinda, I'd love to have you do my taxes. Oh, great, Melinda says. And I say to you, how much do you charge? First question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's your reaction? Too much, then you can
Actually,
afford.
I've had that, and I usually say, you can't afford me.
Yeah.
And if they get past that, they're okay.
They don't get past that at all because I usually hang up. I usually will say, listen, if that's the first thing you want to ask me, because I could put you in jail in a nanosecond with a bad tax return. That's the first question you're going to ask me. You're not worthy of my time. Have a wonderful day, and I hang up. And then they put on Yelp that I'm a crazy woman. And I go, okay, I don't care. Bill and Norma both had their hands up. Go ahead.
We have a list of people that I and Melinda are from similar geopolitical areas. Is that you don't schedule appointments for these people?
Because you know they're already psycho, so you have a list of those people.
Their own grandmother for a nickel.
Hey, leave my brother out of
So what
this.
you're saying is you already.
I don't want to deal with them. I don't want staff to deal with them. We don't want to get them as clients. Period. End of story.
Okay, so basically, if you already know of a list of people, you're saying. So if they would make an appointment on the schedule, all you do is call them up and say, I cannot take this appointment, and cancel it.
Saying in small communities, I think all small practices,
You'd know them ahead of time.
like you know, there's some people that are,
Psycho.
yeah, they're gonna bring you stuff and try to.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be anywhere near accurate, and you're gonna be. Tossed under the bus.
I do know that there are some people like that, and I have already rejected them even when they would call. I would say, no, I'm not taking your business.
And Norma had a hand up too.
In a small community, we're about 25,000. How do you kind of keep the nuts from coming on to this site?
How do I keep the nuts from coming onto my site?
Yeah.
I have a gun and a concealed carry.
And I just have a big mouth.
And I have posted very clearly on my doors, we welcome concealed carry permit holders.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I do. I'm not apologizing for it.
Okay.
I carry.
When was the last time you shot a client?
I didn't have to shoot. I just pulled the gun. And that's also in my written security plan, because we also had, it's in my written security plan that we had an incident in my small community where they had shut down the school. They had shut down the school because there was a person on the loose in the community. And I had to call quickly back to the office. I was on the road teaching for NATP. I heard about it via Facebook. Everything happens on Facebook. You find that out first, right? And I was worried about the girls back in the office. And I told them, I said, you guys need to lock the doors. It was in my community. And I told them, I said, you need to lock the doors. And I thought, this is stupid, Melinda. You should have a contingency plan already in place of how those girls are supposed to handle things when the nutball is loose in your community. And he was seeking sanctuary in the houses in my community. While the sheriff's department is all trying to find him. Well, now we have a gun in the office that I have personally trained all the girls to learn how to shoot. Okay? I live in cornfields. Yes. Yeah. Well, my job is to protect my employees too. Again, I'm going to get sued.
Yeah, any way you look at it, you're going to get sued.
If something happens to them. So
Mhm.
I have a plan. These girls are to do this if there is an incident in my neighborhood and there's somebody on the loose that's crazy, okay? If there's a lockdown, and there was in the school for a long time, girls, you do this. And now we have a procedure, and it's in writing. So that there's not this panic. It's calm, and this is what you do. Do you have that procedure? I don't know. Do you think you need it? I don't know. I felt I did.
Melinda, do you do a budget?
Do I do a budget? Yes, we do.
How
We do a budget.
concrete is it?
It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid.
Do you bring your team members in on creating your budget?
I have a business partner. He and I do it only.
And you don't include them in?
The office staff generally no.
No, budget for the business.
Monetary budget for the business, because this industry that we are in is such seasonal.
Yeah.
Cash flow is huge. I wrote a couple books for NATP. And in one of the books is a whole section devoted to a new person that would come in this business. If you think, and especially when we work for somebody else, we think the grass is so beautiful and I'm gonna go out into business model myself and I think it's wonderful and why am I working for somebody else and I could just start this business myself? Well, unless you are business savvy enough to learn how to survive for 8 months with no cash flow, good luck. Because cash intensive for January through April, and then you've got to survive the rest of the 8 months. You need to know how to work a budget. And you need to know how to do this. And so a budget in our industry, I think, is critical.
And I involve my staff. Well, first of all, my staff, they're all related to me, but I include them in it because I want them to understand that when we do this, there's a cost. That everything that happens, and I use an expression with my team, where are your hands? Your hands are in my pocket. Are they holding me up or are they dragging me down? And so like every year we sit down, we do a post-mortem right after the season, and we go through and we make a couple of decisions like who are we going to fire in the client base and what kind of client we have. This year, NATP offered a free webinar, and it was a marketing type of one. And it started out with something really interesting. What do you want, an off season or a post season? And I thought to myself, wow, I like that idea.
I want an off season.
I don't know what I'm
out of here.
I don't know what I want. I said to the girls, we can't think about this year, but let's think about this for next year. Even when I do my public speaking, I can only do my public speaking because the girls are back in the office doing what they need to do.
That's right.
So that's why
critical.
I include them in the budgeting, because they have to understand that while I'm out there, this work still needs to keep going, and they understand that, the mob still needs to get paid to come pick up the trash on Thursday nights. And that they're, the different fees and fines and all of that. So I try to give them a little bit of ownership in that as well.
And and technically I say that they're not in the budget themselves, but my staff still sees it,
right?
Because they were the ones back there when I'm out on the road. They're the ones paying the bills, doing the payroll, and taking care of the clients. I'm not.
Right. What about education and training? As we preach to the choir here, people who have spent anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 to come to conference, we're going to talk to them about how important education is, right? It's so important, you know that. And sometimes
some of these people sitting here have staff still back in the office. You've got to take what you've got here back to them, right?
So what are you using in your office to train your staff? Did you know that NATP has an excellent textbook on basic 1040 prep? And they have, I think it's called tax, what's it like, boot camp?
Boot camp.
Erin, is that what it's called, boot camp? Yeah, intro to tax prep.
Yeah.
And it's very well written.
Yep.
And
I've used it.
And it's a good tool to get your people, knowledgeable.
New people.
And look at your state chapters. A lot of state chapters offer basic information on the state returns. I know in New York, we have a 201, 203 comprehensive that assumes you know absolutely nothing about the New York State return. And we take you through it. And then it's just a great tool.
Here's another thing. If you don't realize it, NATP, when you belong to NATP, you automatically belong to your state chapter for no additional money.
Yep.
So many of the other tax organizations, in order to belong to the state chapter, you have to pay more money, not NATP.
And when you belong to NATP, you have the right to attend another chapter's event at the member rate.
Right. And
that's
tonight is an excellent opportunity to go and see all of these state chapters, because tonight is chapter showcase.
And you can talk to the chapters about what they're offering. So maybe you want to take a class in Hawaii. I'm going to be doing the 1040.
Woo-woo.
And usually,
Woo-woo.
I'm going to Vegas.
Vegas, there you go. And then the next day, the Hawaii chapter puts together 8 hours of CE, and they have chapter certified instructors. So some of that is not just Hawaii information, but federal tax information. And there's so much out there. And our webinar series, and what I love are the on-demand webinars. Like I missed Jay's phenomenal series on trust because of my schedule. So I'll be buying that on demand. And then they have that package. And NATP knows, they're not stupid. They know exactly what's going on. You logged on for that webinar. You're taking that class, and your office is sitting around, and you're all eating pizza or stuffing envelopes. They know that. That's just part of the cost of doing a webinar. They know that they don't have, when I have 98 people on there, we know there's more than 98 sets of ears listening to it. It's just it's just what we do. We're frugal. We're occupationally frugal. And that's okay. So you can share it.
Cheap. We're cheap. We're cheap. Yeah.
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 And the webinar is a great way of learning stuff, and it's 2 hours, and it's
next Tuesday I'm doing one for 8 hours. It's what they call one of their live webinars.
Oh yeah, on the
and
S-Corp.
it's S Corp. S Corp. Did you sign up for that? Yeah. It's one of their live ones where it's interactive, and you sit in your office and you can actually type questions in, and I get to stand in front of a stupid camera the whole time.
You'll be there the whole time because the horse won't be cold.
Actually,
right.
I have to go to Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm actually in Wisconsin on camera for this one.
And I do the dead guy in December that way.
Yeah, on camera. The
2
dead guy
days.
class.
I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Dead guy class is a good one.
I love the dead guy.
Yeah, the dead guy class is a good one.
Dead guy is cool.
Colette?
Yes.
Yes, after they do the live one, then they offer the on-demand after that, about a week and a half
Yeah.
after that. Yeah, yeah, they'll offer them on demand too. Yeah. So the education is always available from
Always.
this on playback. You know what's nice about this? Even though you can't attend sessions, like you're sitting in this one, you think, oh man, I really wanted to go to Larry Gray's ACA too. But I did this, and you have to pick. You can't do every one. You get every booklet. Every booklet. And every PowerPoint.
On the
So all you have to
playback
do is buy the playback for the ones that you couldn't go to. Yeah. And that's nice too. It's a nice
So there's
offer.
great education out there. And one of the things that I've always learned in my office is by being an education consumer, my girls have learned that in this profession, the day you stop learning, you might as well retire. Because there's always something new, whether it's the actual law itself changes, or the interpretation, or the regulation, or there could be a court case that rolls around. So there's a lot of stuff out there.
We got 20 minutes left, I think.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Yep. Okay. We got checklists and stuff in your text that we've given you. Of course, I'm huge on worksheets,
Yeah.
checklists.
We gave you a batch of them because one of the things that happens in the event that you were ever the object of an investigation by the Internal Revenue Service, one of the ways that you can try to get out of that penalty is by showing that you exercised, a certain amount of due diligence, and they look to see if you have checklists and worksheets and flow charts that kind of track what you're doing. So I kind of gave you some of the ones that Melinda uses, some of the ones that I use. I kind of put together a little table of contents because one of the things that you'll see in Melinda's class on current developments is the new 8867, the new due diligence. And, a lot of people, and I see the eyes rolling already. Oh, there she goes about EIC. Oh, there she goes about the working poor. Oh, well, you know what? The PATH bill, Protecting Americans from Tax Hikes, requires these due diligence issues on any refundable tax credit with a child on it. So now the 8867 is not just a form for those EIC clients that I don't do. It applies to every child tax credit return, every AOTC return, And instead of it being a 4-page form, it's now a 2-page form. And it kind of says, well, did you take the documents? Did you look at them? Did you keep a copy?
Did you ask questions?
Did you ask questions? And so, what questions? So you'll see one of the things that I gave you is a worksheet that we use in our office about how did we verify that the child met the rule of raw. You know, a qualified child has to be raw. You're probably going, now what is she talking about? RAR. They have to be related to the taxpayer. They have to be of a certain age. Well, that's all that you can get that off the birth certificate, right? And then they have to reside with the taxpayer for more than half the year. And so we put this worksheet together knowing that this was coming down. And Larry Gray had said when they first started talking about that, he said, I think it was like January, so he said, we don't know what this new 8867 is going to look like. Start talking to your clients now. So we started to require documentation of raw for every one of our clients with an AGI of less than 175,000. Because even though we didn't need it this year, the tax returns we did in calendar 2016, we knew we were going to need it for 2017. Now let's just have a quick little history lesson. When they changed the 8867 the last time, no one saw it in draft form until like October. And it became effective in January. And the IRS that first year would kind of shake their saber and yell at us, but very few people were actually fined the very first year of the new 8867. The penalties really kicked in the next year, and they said that they felt they needed to give us a grace period. And if you look at changes to the IRS, whether it's tax law changes or procedural changes, they usually give us a year grace period, correct? Well, guess what? The path was passed, try to say that after a couple. The path was passed in December of 15 to become effective January of 17. Guess what this year we're in? There's our grace period. There won't be a grace period next year. So what I gave you was a worksheet that we use to kind of go over it. And the clients know it's there. And because it's off a worksheet, it adds a little bit more. And then, of course, there's something that Melinda taught me about 4 years ago, and it is, if you see it, scan it. If you hear it, write it down.
And who did you hear it from?
Oh, definitely.
Document who told it to you.
Yeah.
And these questions are on the new 8867. And you've got to have it. And I've had so many people sit in my classes and say, I don't care about your 8867. I don't care.
Them.
I do EITC. I don't take those type of clients, and I don't care about it.
They say it like this, I don't take those type of clients.
Well, guess what?
People say it.
Do you have any clients that have dependents?
No.
Do you have any clients that have children under the age of 17? Do you have any clients that have children in college?
Do you have clients?
Because if you do, you now get to use my 8867. Come on in, the water's warm. Welcome to my world. Because you're going to use it now, and you've got the same due diligence, the exact same due diligence. So these worksheets that we have to use, that we've been using, and our clients are now your clients. And the penalties that we're subject to, that you think you aren't subject to, you're subject to.
$510 because they're indexed to inflation now.
Yep.
But I want to tell you a couple of stories. I have an associate who would sit in my class and roll his eyes and tell me how he was never going to do it. Well, my first day after the tax season was over, he's sitting in my waiting area. I'm like, what's the matter? I got to show you something. And he shows me a bill from the Internal Revenue Service for $44,000. They hit him for $500 per return because he didn't do the 8867. And he said, well, I said, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And he's like, well, you got to help me. I said, okay, hold on. Where's my TARDIS? We'll jump in and we'll go back in time for the Doctor Who people in the room. Yes, I actually made a Doctor Who reference. Get in our TARDIS and go back. And it was like, oh my God. But then I have a very good friend that just got hit with a penalty. He's an EA. He got hit for failure to supervise the people in his office.
Yeah. If you think, well, this isn't going to be me because I've got a boss that's going to get hit with that. And let me tell you one more thing. If you think this right here is going to cover those penalties, E&O insurance,
Nope.
It doesn't pay a dime, not one dime of those penalties.
Nope.
E&O insurance does not cover those penalties, the due diligence penalties. Nope.
They don't pay it.
Nope. The IRS also has the right to come in and say that this falls under best practices. And these worksheets will protect you against Circular 230 best practice penalties also. And these, if you say, well, I have nothing to do with the best practices in my office. The IRS could come in, if Kathryn and I have the same office, and I say to the IRS, well, she teaches, she should have been known to do these best practices. And she says, well, you know, Melinda's the queen of ethics, paranoia. She should have known to set these best practices in place. The IRS is going to come in and say, we're going to pick who should have done the best practices. We're going to say who should have done the best practices. They could say that we both should have.
Right.
The IRS has the right to point the fingers and assign the duty. The IRS can do what they want.
Absolutely. And we talked briefly earlier about something as simple as FBAR. And, you know, I've taught FBAR for some chapters and had them say, well, you know, I don't know why the membership wanted it, but they asked for it, but nobody really needs it. And I go, oh, okay. And then at the end of the day, they come back and they go, oh my God, I learned so much. You know, they're talking about hitting us with due diligence penalties for failure to properly ask the questions on FBAR. That's something that the IRS has been kicking around. So we need to ask now. I was so proud of myself. I got to tell you this story. I was so proud of myself because I say, do you have money in a foreign bank? Do you have a bank that's located physically in another country? Do you have any accounts, maybe with grandma in a foreign country? And I was at an event where an IRS speaker said to me that I didn't do my due diligence. Well, you know what that's like. That's like talking about my mother. You know, out comes my lightsaber. I'm going to do battle with him. How dare you?
You chop his head off?
No, I didn't. I said, how dare you? He says, this is what he said to me. I almost died. Now, keep in mind, I'm in Brooklyn, New York, 2 million people. He says to me, you have to ask your client where they were born. I went, what? Because you have to ask them where they were born and where their parents were born. I went, what? What? And then he really went over the line. You have to ask your clients, what faith are they? And I went, oh no, you didn't. And he said to me, well, what are you, Kathryn? And I said, I'm an Irish Catholic. And he said to me, there's no such thing. There's Eastern Catholics and Roman Catholics. I said, well, obviously you don't understand, because there definitely is Irish Catholic, right? And if you've lived in the Northeast, you know exactly what I mean. So he said to me, where is your ritual money? I went, my what? And he went, where's your confirmation money? And I said, you didn't listen to me. I'm an Irish Catholic. My mother spent it the day after my party. But then I started thinking about our Jewish friends and family members and the bar mitzvah money and the bat mitzvah money. The money that a child gets when they turn 13 and they have their bar mitzvah, or bat mitzvah, that's sacrosanct. That's money that child will use to buy their home, to start a business, maybe go to medical school. The family, and I have a very good friend, they ate Bisquick for 6 months when they were both out of work, rather than touch the bar mitzvah money. That's how sacred that money is. And I started to think about it. And one of my nicest clients had come to see me about a year before, and they were complaining, the mother was complaining because they had brought their son to Israel to have his bar mitzvah in the Holy Land. Beautiful thing. I had seen the video, it was very nice. And all grandma gave him was a Spider-Man watch. And the mother did nothing but bash her mother-in-law, because all she gave her, the first grandson, for his bar mitzvah, was a Spider-Man watch. And I realized, oh no, I remember grandma, there's some, she probably set an account. So when they come in, because I see them socially a lot, I said, you know, I was at a class recently, it made me think about monies overseas. Did your mother-in-law open an account and put your son's name on it? Maybe what your mother-in-law did, because I'm always trying to, you know, keep the peace in families. Don't be mad at her because she gave her, you know, a Spider-Man watch. There's probably something else. And sure enough, grandma had opened this huge account in Israel, and the kid is the beneficiary. We missed that bullet, because with the beneficiary, is there any FBAR reporting? Vincent, no. But I started to think of all my other clients who have parents in Europe or in Asia. And then all of a sudden, you know, the parent dies, now they have all this money all over the world. And then when we look, we realize that maybe they weren't the beneficiary. Maybe they were the co-signer. Signature authority. And people don't realize, if your client is an officer of their church, synagogue, mosque, temple, kingdom hall, or shrine, it is very possible that, you like how I hit them all in one point? They could very well be the signatory on a foreign bank account where their missionaries are. And we wouldn't even, do you think of asking that? When you go through and you're talking to your clients about the volunteer activities that they do we think of saying, hey, do you have signature authority on any of those bank accounts? And if you do you have a missionary overseas? Is there a bank account in that country where the missionary is?
So just asking the question, do you have any foreign bank accounts, isn't going to cut it anymore. So you've got to come up with a worksheet that has enough FBAR questions.
They're talking about hitting us with due diligence requirements on that. And remember what the penalty is for not filing an FBAR. It's the greater of 50% of the account, the greater of 50% of the account, or $10,000, and for each year. So if they can show that there was willfulness and no reasonable cause, now we're talking about the potential of criminal charges. So if your client has filed FBAR before but not again, maybe did something to kind of move accounts around and make it look something, that shows intent. And intent is a completely different part of our rules. Because if the IRS can show that I am intentionally violating the EIC rules, and I am intentionally running a fraudulent refund thing, it's not just the $510. I run myself a risk of 6694B, $5,000 per offense. And I run the chance of being arrested.
And didn't they increase that from 50% up to 75% of the revenue generated?
Yeah.
Under the PATH Act?
Yep.
Yeah. Question back there, Kathryn.
Just keep in mind too that FBAR now is due earlier.
Oh, yes. FBARs
That's
need
true.
filed by April 15th now.
Thank you for
A
reminding
new
us.
filing date.
But at least now we can get an extension on it. Yay! Yeah, so they moved it up, they gave us a little something.
An extension. We don't have a form yet, though, I don't think.
No, not yet.
Not an extension form
Yes,
yet.
dear.
I'm curious when you said that, they were after religion were born, but then you get into privacy issues.
Privacy issues. You know, I always say, her question is about, they're asking us to tell, the IRS is telling us we have to ask more questions. But then a client has a right to privacy. I always feel that if I do my tax returns correctly, it's like looking at them naked.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
And I know things about my clients that their own families.
I have to go to lunch, Kathryn. Oh.
But it's true. But you're absolutely right. And this is where you have to let clients know that there will be confidentiality in their office. You know, because a lot of people, you know, we live in a society where people are less reluctant to talk about their ethnic background. And so, you know, yeah, I can see that some people may not want to share that.
You know what? I love doing classes with Kathryn.
And I love doing classes with you.
Isn't
Melinda.
she a hoot?
I love this girl. I love her. So I believe we have a lunch thing, don't we?
We have lunch. You know where lunch is at today? Lunch is in the expo hall.
On the second floor.
Third?
I thought it was in Griffin.
It's on.
Oh, it's up here on the third floor. No, we're down.
Where's it at?
Where are we?
It's up on 3.
Where are we? We're on the first
JW
floor.
Grant. Okay, it's not in the expo hall. It's on the
Oh, I
JW
thought
Grant.
it was at Expo Hall. Okay.
On 3. Okay.
Get to
So
lunch.
get your lunch and then go to the expo hall because it's open all during the lunch hour, and go see those vendors because they help us keep the cost down on this. Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
One question, one observation. So where you can see